Hey guys, what's up? So today we are going to continue with strategic analysis. This is the second video pertaining to chapter 3 under strategic management. So as you know about me that I am a practicing chartered accountant. I've taught at CA study centers. Through this initiative, we are trying to provide very high quality accessible education. Spread the word of this education revolution and write to us on our Facebook handle, that is Unacademy CA. Starting with the video, today we'll study about the industry and competitive analysis. So understanding both terms separately, industry and competitive analysis. What is industry and what is analysis? As we had discussed in the last slide, that analysis means to study. Whenever we wish to study anything, so, study of industry or understanding industry's overall situation and drawing conclusions about whether the industry would represent an attractive investment opportunity or not is said that industry analysis. So, as per strategic management, industry can be defined as a group of firms. Mark this term as important, a group of firms whose products have similar attributes, which means that those products have similar characteristics or similar attributes. They are similar in nature, such that they compete for the same buyers. Competition is amongst the same buyers. If the competition is amongst the same buyers, then it can be said to be competition. Otherwise, it is not competition. So, by understanding this definition of industry, we can understand how to survive the competition under competitive analysis. So, both things go hand in hand, industry and competitive analysis. On the basis of this, we analyze that what are the issues pertaining with the industry. So let's understand the issues to be considered pertaining to the industry. These are the issues that we are going to understand. So the very first issue under industry analysis is dominancy of economic features of the industry. Dominant. Dominant means main. What are the main features that would impact the industry? What are the main economic features in a product or in an industry that gives competition to the similar kind of businesses with similar attributes? So, it starts with an overview of industry's economic features. Let's understand how. What are these main economic features? Market size. What kind of market size do we have? Do we have a big market size or a small market size? Understanding this. Scope of competitive rivalry. Rivalry means dushmani. Scope. What is the scope of this kind of rivalry? How many rivals do we have? What is the competition that we are looking at? So, if we have bigger market size, then we would have lesser rivalry. If we have lesser market size, then we are looking at bigger rivalry. So, as you can see, that second point is connected with the first point. Next are number of rivals and their relative sizes. What is their share? Understanding the share of our rivals in the business. Extent of backward and forward integration of rivals. Backward integration, forward integration are pertaining to the logistics which are built in order to supply the product to the consumer by sourcing the product from the farm or from the raw material source. So, how good is their logistics? Understanding these two from the point of view of rivals. Level of product differentiation, very very important point. Differentiation means how different is your product, how is it different from others, what is an additional feature that you offer. What does Domino's offer which is different from Pizza Hut? Domino's offers 30 minutes delivery, so that is the guarantee. It has maybe the same product which is a pizza, but an additional feature is 30 minutes guarantee. Product differentiated. Number of buyers and their sizes. What is the buyer size? What is the consumer base? Market growth rate. What is the potential of growth rate in the market of such an industry? The types of distribution channels. What are the various channels through which you distribute? Do you distribute through advertising agencies? Do you distribute through retailer? Do you distribute through wholesaler? By what or in what way do you distribute? So, distribution channels. Whether industrial profitability is low or high. So, these are some of the factors which are considered to be the main factors pertaining to the first issue. So understanding the dominant economic features of the industry. The second important issue is nature and strength of competition. What is the nature? What is the strength? I learn it as nature and strength, NS. So, NSC or nature and strength of competition is to be understood in a broad manner because the strength or the nature, it induces pressure. It induces pressure, which is known as competitive pressure on the industry. So, if there are such competitors that would induce pressure, so we have to understand that what is the nature and strength of the competition that we are looking at. According to the nature and strength, devise a proper strategy. So, devising a strategy is important or is based on the nature and strength of competition. How would we come to know about the nature and strength is something that we have already studied in the first chapter, that is Porter's 5 forces model. Chapter 1. तो याद आ रहा है आप लोगों को? Chapter 4, Porter's 5 forces model, we had understood there are too many rivals in the market, threat from substitutes, etc. etc. So these factors we have already considered. This model is used to understand competition. How do we successfully use this model? By discovering the company's main sources of competitive pressure. Main sources means what are the substitute products in the market available, who are the rivals. So these are the main sources, and assess the strength of competitive force. How much can they damage us? Can they damage us to a greater extent? Can they damage us to a lesser extent? Can they damage us in short term? Can they damage us in long term? So these issues have to be considered under nature and strength. And Porter's 5 forces model will be instrumental in making us understand these issues. Coming to the next issue is triggers of change. Triggers of change. Trigger. So you already have heard of trigger. Literally, a trigger means what is used to shoot from a gun. Trigger of change. Something similar is what we understand in strategic management, because trigger is a force. It is considered to be a force which is used to hit the driving force of an industry. Hitting the driving force. So let's understand this in detail. The intensity of competition is determined by triggers. How hard can you hit or how fast can you hit? This determines the intensity of competition. How much is the competition? Is it excessive or is it less? This is known as the intensity. It is determined by triggers. So a trigger hits the driving force, the most dominant reason for change, and creates impact on competition. So if the dominant feature is, let's say, what we had understood, market growth, if a trigger is hitting the market growth, it has to hit it in such a way where the intensity is huge. So this is the second trigger. This could be the impact on industry structure, competitive environment, etc. But we have to understand primarily the trigger of change. The most important driving forces leads to quality upgradation. So as we know from old people, what they used to say, if there is competition or if there is huge competition, automatically that will pull you up in terms of delivery. So you will definitely have to improve the delivery of your product or the quality of a product, otherwise you will be outdated. खत्म हो जाओगे मार्केट से, निस से नाबूद हो जाओगे, you will be less than zero. So keep on driving, keep on triggering yourself, keep on forcing yourself in order to deliver high quality upgradation. For examples, internet, e-commerce opportunities, globalization. So internet, it resulted to globalize better. Now this globalization led to e-commerce opportunities, various e-commerce opportunities. Amongst these various e-commerce opportunities, one was, let's say, example is Flipkart. Before Flipkart was Amazon. So they were trying to deliver products and were a literal model of e-commerce. But Amazon could not shape up its delivery channels, which is why Flipkart took over. So that is a quality upgradation. Because of the excessive intense competition, Flipkart could recognize the shortcoming of Amazon and it overcame it. So that is an example. So how do we study the driving force? Is a two-step simple procedure. First is identify the driving force. What is driving you? What will be your trigger? And assess the impact it will have on the industry. How will it impact the industry? Will it impact in a big way or a small way? Will it impact in long term or a short term? This is what is to be understood. The next issue is market position of rival companies. Very, very important. Now we had already discussed this in parts in in the last slide, last to last slide. So why are we discussing it again? The market position of rival companies will tell us that what the rival companies are looking at. What would their strategy be? Are they already ahead of us? Are they behind us? So these things can be understood by their rival positions market share. One of the technique is strategic group mapping. Strategic group mapping. What I used to call this was SGM. Strategic group mapping. In order to identify these companies, or in order to identify that what is the strongest or the weakest point of the company, strongest or weakest point, we need to determine the market position. So firms can be analyzed separately. Analyzed means they can be studied separately or be grouped together into positions and then analyzed. So this will tell us that what is the strength and weakness of that company. So the market position could be high because they are encashing up on their strength. But are they really looking after their weaknesses? This we have to understand as competition. So like positions are determined according to similarity in business models or similar combinations of strategies. How do we do it? The procedure for construction of a strategic group or strategic group mapping. What is the procedure? Identify the competitive characteristics. Where are they competing or where are the competitors winning? What are their characteristics? What makes them what makes their strength and what makes their weakness? So identify the strength because these are the competitive characteristics. Plot the firms on a two variable map. This you already know what is a two variable map, x-axis, y-axis, etc. Assign similar companies to the same strategic groups. Whatever companies are providing the similar services, assign them. And then circle each strategic group or map them with respect to the size of the total industry. So a simple thing where it is determined on this basis and it is mapped that many industries are falling here or falling in this way or falling in this way. So they will be mapped. Where are there, what is the industry size, how are they functioning, etc. So this will lead us to understand what is the market position of the rival companies. According to this, how should we shape our strategies? So in this slide, we are going to discuss the strategic moves of the rivals. So this is in continuation of the last slide, which was focusing upon market share. After determining the market share, we determine the strategic moves. Moves means action. What is the action that we are going to take on the basis of rivals' action? So our action will be dependent after studying their action. If we do not do this, then this might lead us to exit the market. So it is a very important decision that has to be taken unless we have to exit. So a strategist must try and understand the moves of the competitors. Moves, as we have understood, means action. What happens if we do not understand action? A company cannot outperform, which means a company cannot be successful, company cannot grow, company cannot succeed without analyzing a competitor's actions. The latest moves, resource, strength, anticipated actions, and so on are factors that must be addressed. As soon as these are addressed or these are considered, the action part can be understood. So resource strength or the anticipated actions should be understood in advance. This is something what we know as competitive intelligence. Competitive intelligence, if one has, it will enable him to make defensive and aggressive moves, or his own actions would be based on the competition. So it may be defensive, that he might defend himself from any anticipated changes, or it may be aggressive. He might aggressively market his own product considering the something that has been done by the competitor. So this can only be done if these issues are to be considered. The next issue is the key factors for competitive successes. Key factors, or these can also be called as key success factors, KSF, key success factors. So these were some code words that I made in order to learn better. So identify that key success factor. What is the key success factor? Maggie had a masala. It was its key success factor. Similarly, Domino's has its 30-minute delivery is the key success factor. Every single industry will definitely have a key success factor. Identify it. That success factor will turn out to be a trigger for you in the future. As we discussed, trigger is a driving force. So an industry's KSFs are the strongest driving forces, or they are the strongest KSF. These may be a particular strategy paths, any particular resource, or competencies, competitive capabilities, the competitive capabilities of the industry. So these things can be understood by understanding which is the factor that is leading to our key success, not even general success, but key success. So in order to identify that, we need to ask ourselves three questions, broadly three questions. Coming from it, the first question is, on what basis customers choose the competing brand of sellers? Understand, why does a consumer has started consuming something like a Samsung phone over Apple? So that's because it is cheap, it is offering the same service as Apple. So these may be the two conditions why people are preferring Samsung over Apple. So maybe this is the basis price, maybe the quality is the same and still you are getting it cheap is the basis of the customers choosing the competitive brand of sellers. Maybe this is the reason. So this being the first question. Second, what are the resources and capabilities that are needed? So what do we need to succeed? What do we need to define our key success factors? After understanding the basis, what do we need? What is the resource and what is the capability? And the third is, what does it take to achieve substantial competitive advantage? What does it take? Do we also have to reduce our price? Do we also have to offer the same quality at a reduced price? These simple questions have to be answered before we can embark on some journey. So taking another example, let's say a pair of jeans is manufactured by Wrangler and Levi's. So if Levi's is expensive and that expense is making the people drive towards Wrangler, which is a little cheap, then Levi's can also adopt this strategy where it can price it according to Wrangler and then accordingly choose to give the highest quality. So that will give them the competitive advantage of having their own brand name, that is Levi's, and then also offering at the price of Wrangler, which is little cheap, or it may start giving discounts. So this will be the key success factor. Key success factor. Now coming to the last issue which is to be considered is the prospects and financial attractiveness. The final step. What will be the prospect? What will be the financial attractiveness of this issue or of our own company in terms of competition? Using the conclusions from the previous issues to conjecture about the attractiveness of the industry, both in long term and short term. So we have already identified that what makes our industry attractive or what makes our competitors' industry attractive. Our and their. So these are the two things what attractiveness we have understood. An industry can be called attractive if the prospective profits are above average. So it is not a very ambitious goal to ask for, but prospective profits which should be above average, that can be possible. So this would give us the understandability of why the people are attracted towards us. This classification is very important, although simple but very important. And the other factors that would determine attractiveness are industry's growth potential, how will the industry grow, or does it have any potential to grow in future? What is the degree of risk and uncertainty involved in starting a business in this industry? The government policies, are they favorable? Are they unfavorable? Are they neutral? Will they support us in future? So these questions have to be answered. These are dilemmatic questions. This would create a dilemma. And companies' competitive position in the industry. This is something which what can be estimated apart from these three. So competitive position in the industry can be noticed. If you have new product, then you have zero position. If you have an existing product, you might have 5, 10, 15, whatever percent. If you have a popular product, then you might even have 50% of the industry share. So this is something that have to be answered in terms of issues which are to be considered. On the basis of these issues, we decide or we say that we have been able to analyze the industry. So you must remember the topic that we were studying, industry and competitive analysis. So on the basis of these steps, we have understood or we've analyzed the industry and the competition. Coming to the next topic, SWOT analysis, something you might have definitely heard once and for all in your life or once ever in your life. SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. Not a very rocket science approach, but yet a very important approach. It refers to the critical examination of strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Critical examination means understanding the positives and the negatives, which is why the word critical. So, weaknesses and threats are being identified because we want to be critical about the industry. and strengths and opportunities are to be identified because we are considering there to be advantages for us. So this is the SWOT analysis. Now, how do we proceed? We proceed on the basis of understanding individual components. What is a strength? Strength and weakness, as we have already discussed in the first chapter, are internal to a company. So, this is something which is in our hands. Hence, strength can be defined as an inherent capability that can be used to gain strategic advantage over the competitors because this is in our hands. On the other hand, weakness is an inherent limitation, opposite, but this too is in our hands. And we know our weakness that creates strategic disadvantage. But this is internal to our country, something on which we can do something. On the other hand, opportunities and threats, these are external to a company. Again, that we have studied in the first chapter. The opportunities are the favorable condition in the environment which enables strengthening of position. So this is beyond our control, but this might be a favorable condition. For example, for example, a government policy, a favorable government policy implementation of GST. So GST may make lives of many people easier. So this may be a favorable condition for some. But on the other hand, this may also be proved to be a threat or an unfavorable condition for some other people who are maybe evading tax in the environment, which causes a risk or damage to the organization's position. So this is something which is a threat. Analyzing individual components, strength, weakness, opportunities and threats is the SWOT analysis. SW, that is strength and weakness, is in our hands, and OT, opportunities and threats, is in not in our hands, it is beyond our control. So this was SWOT analysis. Now, what is the significance, as you have already understood, that we are analyzing the internal and external factors? So they would be significant from all four point of view. Why? Because it provides us a logical framework in order to design our own strategies or our own plans. It would provide a logical framework, a systematic and sound examination of issues. Whatever issues are there, you would be able to examine them properly. And it would create a difference in the managerial outlook about environmental opportunities, which leads to choice of most suitable strategy. So differentiate on the basis of this. Take the views of many people there who are in your company. They would give you separate type of opportunities framework, and it would help us to devise a suitable strategy in terms of framework. The second benefit or the second significance is it provides a comparative account. What do we mean by comparative? So as you may have seen, there are two types of pictures. Once a man is 120 kgs and he turns into 80 kgs. So two pictures. This is a comparative. Similarly, a company, what it was and what it is now. This is a comparative. So this was is a benchmark. Whether we were good or bad, both things can be defined to be a benchmark. Mostly it is good. So if we are rising from this good position, this is a benchmark. If we have achieved 100 and this is our benchmark, then we have to reach at least 100 or greater than 100 if this is favorable. This would be the benchmark for us. So we are creating a comparative account. It provides an information in a structured form. This is the significance, structured form, and it enables comparison of external and internal threats and opportunities which exist vis-a-vis our own business. So comparison enable hota hai, and it would give us the right amount of comparative or the right amount of feel of how the business will function. And the last is it guides strategist and strategy identification. On the basis of the above two comes the third significance. It would guide the people who are making the strategy or identifying a proper strategy. Organization has several threats and opportunities. It enables choosing the one best suited on the basis of whatever we have done earlier. It helps in identifying major purpose of strategy under consideration. So whatever is the purpose, we try to understand on the basis of whatever we've understood above, and on that basis we try to choose the best possible strategy. So this was it for today, the second part of the third chapter. Please spread the word and be a part of this education revolution. My name is CA Ayush Sanghi and the name of the channel is Unacademy CA. Unacademy CA. Please be a part of this education revolution. Like, comment and specially subscribe to this channel. These are our URLs On Facebook, you already know this is my page. You can like my page, ask any query, and I will reply to the queries. These are the Twitter handles. Please be a part of this education revolution. Spread the word, and thank you so much for watching this tutorial. You guys are awesome.